Now Swastik Benerjee is going to present his paper on encountering Kālī, not misunderstanding Tantric culture. As usual, Swastik Benerjee tells you, don't misunderstand. I will.
So my topic is because a lot of it has been discussed, I will just directly get to the point, and also time is very little. So I'm Swastik Benerjee. The topic I choose is encountering Kālī, not misunderstanding Tantric culture. Let me just first get why this word has been used. So the Kālī as a deity, and especially in Western contexts, you see Tantra has been vulgarized in different forms, primarily in three ways. First, in West, if you just Google Tantra Guru or New Age Tantric Guru, I would use the word New Age in the quotations because it's something that developed now. They have vulgarized it by making it a erotic sexual ritual cult. So that's the first problem that I would address. Second, Kālī has been misunderstood as a dark, ferocious figure by most of them. This is not just in West. Like there are movies like Indiana Jones' Temple of Doom, which very directly state that Kālī is a dark, evil goddess, to the more demonization of Kālī by the Abrahamic religions. And even, I won't take the name of any particular person, modern New Age gurus, who would say Kālī is just time. So this is the rejection of that one. And the third one is the idea of Vamachara, the left-hand path of practice. Now, left-hand path of practice being more secretive, Panchamakara and everything, has been often misunderstood and even misused by the popular people who want to sell this idea. So my paper basically focuses on the public problem, like the focus is on how the public stand of Tantra is and how the actual tradition is, how it differs. And I am personally refraining from taking anyone's name in this paper just to be safe, to be very honest. Okay. So in more recent time, the Tantra has been over-mystified and commercialized in the social media platforms. So first is defining Tantra. Now the word Tantra, as we have discussed yesterday, Tanyate Vistare Jnanam Anena iti Tantram. This is how the Tanu Vistare is broken down. The question right now comes is, what is the nature of this jnana? Now if we say that Tantra merely, like the Tanu as in body, it merely expands the bodily consciousness to meet Paramatman, there is a problem of undercoverage. Why? Because there are systems like Jaina Tantras and also Bauddha Tantras which necessarily don't claim that there is a Paramatman to start with. Jaina Tantras would accept that the person just get rid of the malas and go up. That's how their doctrine is. And Bauddha Tantras don't act, like Buddhism themselves are Nairatmavadins, and they don't really accept a personalized soul or a personal identity. And the concept of a super self or a Paramatman does not come in Buddhism also. So in this context, just defining Tantra as a way of uniting the embodied self with the super or the absolute consciousness would create an undercoverage, and therefore we will just take the definition as that which helps us transcends the limitation of bodily knowledge or embodied knowledge. So that would be a better application in this sense. However, on a more popular context, there are texts such as Lajjatu Necha, which is written by Koka Pandit, and several Tantric texts which developed later and in more contemporary times by influence of the Islamic Sulaimani Tantras, the colloquial tribal Tantras, and the traditional Tantric practices, where Tantra is defined as the art of performing certain miracles or getting something done. Okay. Now the question comes, first question is, who is a Tantric? Because the New Age Tantric gurus, I'm just giving this word New Age because my paper kind of directly targets the Western, USA and other best, I'm not using the word again, vulgarized Tantric practices that are happening in the name of New Age. So the New Age Tantric gurus randomly claim that they have gone into Tantra and they have become exotic, quote unquote, sex guru. I'm using the word just to clarify. And they are misinterpreting and distorting the culture, and they're in fact appropriating a culture. So this addressing first the idea of sex or erotica in Tantra is very important. So what is the idea of Maithuna in Tantra? The Maithuna is described as Alinganam Bhavet Nyasa, Chumbanam Alinganam Bhavet Nyasa, Chumbanam Dhyanam Amritam, Avahanam Sitkarasyat, Naivedyam Anulepanam, Japanam Ramanam Proktyam, Reta Pata Dakshinam, Sarvataiva Tatha Gopyam, Mama Prana Dhike Priye. So this is the definition of Maithuna that is given in the Tantra. When the Nyasa is done, first the Shiva Nyasa is done and the Shakti Nyasa. So as Shakti, she embraces the body, and the meditation, when it is done, in the heart, you are just embracing and becoming unite so that rasa is felt. Adharamrita we say in Vaishnava, and that feeling of the rasa becomes the dhyana. And avahanam is the excitement that happens in the body. Even this avahana brings us to a question of possession. So that becomes the sitkara syat. Naivedyam anulepanam. Now naivedyam is the offering of the naivedyam within the body. Since there the practices, it again goes into secret practices, where chakras are all combined and the elements are inside the bodies are mixed, so it becomes anulepan. Japanam Ramanam, because you are remembering the name and enjoying the name. Proktam, Reta Pata Dakshinam. When this entire thing is done and the japa samarpan is done, when the unition happens, it is dakshina, it is the ultimate offering. So all these are kept very secret. So this is how the distortion of Maithuna happens. There is little time, so I am just moving to the other part. Now we are coming into the left-hand part of, then comes the part, how does a person become a Tantric? Now Bengal has a very systematic, much like Kerala, I was talking with Abhijit. So we have a systematic way of progressing to become a Kaulachari Tantric. Bengal is primarily a Kaulachari Tantra. So in Bengal Shakta tradition, especially Kālī, there are, it is known as the Mahavidyakrama, while the Mantrakrama is more popular in South India of Srikula. There, the Tantric first gets initiated in the form of Diksha. It is followed by Abhisheka. So, the first Diksha is Kalavati Diksha, which is of Shiva, followed by Samanya Diksha of Shakti. And the Shakti, it comes with the Abhisheka, where the sadhaka is introduced with the powers of the entities or the beings of that culture, of that tradition. So it becomes the Shakta Abhisheka tradition, followed by a rigorous sadhana in the dualistic method. When they realize the nature of the goddess at its blink and becomes more serious and indeed goes into deeper forms of sadhana, they reach to the point of Purnabhisheka. Now before Purnabhisheka to Shakta Abhisheka, there are the acharas of Vaishnavachara, Vedachara, Smartachara, and your Dakshinachara. Dakshinachara is the last of the Shaktabhisheka to Purnabhisheka level. From Purnabhisheka, the sadhaka starts his Vidachara worship, which is inclusive of Vamachara, Siddhanta Achara, in some systems Aghora Achara. Aghora Achara means that which is beyond Ghora, like that which breaks the ferocious by practicing the ferocious. So Vidachara is where the Vamachara comes into being. In Purnabhisheka, the individual person's identity is killed off through Sraddha and other rituals, and he is given a new name and a new Gotra. And he is declared as a Kaula in presence of other Kaulas. And the Brahmin will have to give off his Upabhita and all these things. This is the time when a person becomes a Guptavaduta or Tantrika in proper sense. They are given the red cloths, red indicating Shakti, and also which is embraced around the body. So you are becoming one with the Shakti. At this point, the person is advised that the person shall not see Shakti different from the world. Everything that is Shakti itself. So the problem is, how does a person understand this left hand path of worship? And beyond Purna Abhisheka, there are more Abhisheka. There is this Krama Abhisheka, there is Rajya Abhisheka, within Krama Abhisheka, Kriya Meda, Riddhi Meda, Siddhi Meda, Divya Meda, Rajya Abhisheka, and Mahasamrajya, Sharamnai. So these are the entire sequence of Abhishekas. Now, particularly Vamachara, as we mostly see in online videos, is often exaggerated and made into a fantastical narratives. This includes staying in samshans and your eating of blood, alcohol. The Maithuna ritual especially is highlighted as the main thing, and you will see a particular page known as Vamapath of Shakti, where they especially say this, and the association with Bhairavis and all this. So these are the distortions of Vamachara that happen. That what is indeed Vamachara? So there are two forms of Vamacharins. One are Gupta Vadus and one are Prakata Vaduts. The Prakata Vaduts are those who reside in samsanas and they practice the red cloth and the open one. However, the Gupta Vaduts are supposed to practice Dakshinachara in public. The instruction given from Kaula Upanishad is Antashakta Bahishaiva Loke Vaishnava Charaha. This Vaishnava Chara does not indicate being a Vaishnava, but it indicates you being practicing the one that is applicable in the society. So, Kulachara Vinang Devi Shakti Mantrana Siddhita Tasmat Kulacharataha Sadhak Kechaya Sadhanam. This is the statement given because it is only by Kulachar or this Vamachar or by Kaulachar you ultimately can worship Devi in this tradition. So there are 5 makaras, Mamsa, Matsya Tatha Maithunam, you all know it's Mamsa, Matsya, Maithuna, Mudra and these are the 5 Maithunas, 5 makaras. So amongst this, the first is the Madhya. The Madhya is indicated in Tantra as Amrita. Now for a Kaulacharin, drinking Madhya, because this is the next thing that Pitva, Pitva, Puna Pitva, this statement is very common, that drink, drink, again drink and then fall off, and then again get up and drink. This is a very popular statement from Kularna which is used in interpreting Vamachara, that Vamachara practitioners are drunkards. So but yeah, Shomadhara Sharet Yatu Brahma Randra Dvaranane Pitva Anandamayang Twang Saha Eva Madhya Sadhakaha. The Soma Dhara, after the Kundalini Yaga, there is a particular process of, in Kaula Sadhana and the Samayachara Sadhana, the difference is centrally in the process how the Kundalini Sadhana is done. In Kaula Sadhana, the Kundalini is brought down from the Muladhara to Sahasrara in the form of Ananda Bhairavi, and their Ishta, and in Samayachara, it comes from Sahasrara to down. Okay, so over here, when it goes up, they have the Milan with Paramashiva. There is this song and there is an interesting factor in this Milana, that this is visualized as both Paramashiva and Shakti, and even in those who worship it as Krishna and Radha, they see it as Krishna and Radha. So if they are seeing it as Paramashiva and Shakti, it will be visualized as the state of Kamakala and their union. And if it is seen as Radha and Krishna, it will be seen as Golaka Vrindavan, which is the Rasalila that is constantly happening in the Sahasrara. And this Rasalila tradition of Sahasrara is more prominently seen in the Baul tradition. Therefore, this Vaishnava, Baul, Bhakti and the Sahajiya practices, they actually become together and integrate. And at times we also find songs explaining that Ami Shama Mayer Kole Boshe Jopi Ami Shamer Nam. Sitting on the lap of Shama, I am taking the name of Krishna. So this both intoxication, Adharamrita of Krishna, is becoming one into this Madhya Maithuna Sadhana of here. Okay, but again, so that is the first one. Mamsa over here indicates our tongue and senses. And Matsya indicates the Pranavayu. Within these 3 nadis, that is the Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati, Ira, Pingala, Sushumna, moves the fishes, Ganga, Yamuna, Charadya, Matsya, Do, Charata, Sada. So there are 2 fishes that move, Prana and Apana. Dau maksha bhakshaye dhyastu bhaven matsa sadhaka. One who eats up these two breaths, that is the outgoing and incoming, and closes the breath, becomes the matsa sadhaka. Okay, and the mudra is rice and rice praf. Sahasrare mahapadme karma, in very short, suryakarti prakashitam chandrakoti shusitalam, ativa kaminischa mahakundalini yuta. Vasya jnanodaya atra mudra sadhaka uchyate. One who has seen that brilliant light in the Sahasrara, it's in the form of a white light which is visualized or rather seen, is the mudra sadhaka. This is the divya bhava sadhana which comes after vamachara. Okay, and that is what defines one as Kaulachara Tantric. Then comes your, after mudra sadhana and the panchamakara, maithuna, mudra, matsa, mansa, and hello, and mudra. Mudra does not necessarily over here mean gestures. So these are basically categorized in three stages: Pashubhava, Virabhava, and Divyabhava. Okay. Now coming into the next part, which is understanding the black magic. The idea of black magic, again quote and quote, or Kala Jadoo, is another name which is often associated with Bengal practice. And this is the short part. There are abhichareti karmas which are mentioned in Tantra, Shat karmas, and also other forms of sadhana like Dakini, Pishach and other sadhanas which are also mentioned in Tantra as lower practice, but they do not combine the main Mahavidya sadhana. There are texts, primarily Damar Tantras, Bhut Damar Tantras, Lajjatun Necha and others which cover up these things, including Dakini Tantra, which focus on this. Now coming to the main part, understanding Goddess Kali. I'm finishing off in 5 minutes. Now Kali, if the picture can be put, okay, because of the association of Bengal's culture of Kali, and Kali as the primary thing, I have covered up the rest of the parts. Kali, when the first encounter of Kali happened with the West, it was rather a ferocious figure because it's defined as Karala Vadanam Ghodam Mundamala Vibhushitam. So she is Karala Vadana, having fang-like teeth, and she is Ghoda. She is dark and her skin tone is defined as Meghanging Vigatam Varam, Shavasivaruram Trinetram Param. So Meghanging as dark as clouds. So first I will explain the word Meghanging Vigatam Varam. Her dark tone or Krishna Varna comes from the root Krish. So because of the root Krish, Krishna and Kali is often compared to be the same. This indicates that she drags the person into her own state of consciousness first. Second, Kali is known as the Adya Mahavidya, as she is the Srishtikarta. In Shaktananda Tarangini, Brahmananda explains this as she is the Pranama Prakriti and Sadashiva is the Parama Purusha. Their union creating the first spark of creation, and then Tara comes into play, eventually Tripura. So each Mahavidyas follow one sequence after other in the creation. Second, so thus Kali becomes more than a ferocious deity over here, she becomes the Adya or the primordial mother. Secondly, her tongue, Lola Jubam, is the the popular misconception is as she steps on Shiva, she becomes ashamed as she has stepped on her husband and she sticks out her tongue, is one of the folklore popular misconception. The other is that her tongue is the mark of hunger and often ferociousness. Instead, it is defined as tongue is known as rasana. So the rasana indicates rasa, which is parama rasa, or the association of the taste of ananda, brahmananda sahodara, experience of rasa, which is often brought over here, is associated. I'm not going into very much details. The next part, which is of her nakedness, is interpreted as Digambari Aniruddha Saraswati, that it is the raw form of knowledge. The mundas that are in the neck indicate the varnas of the Matrika varnas. She is standing on Mahakala. Mahakala indicates the ultimate end of everything. Well, Mahakala is a transcendental time which becomes segregated into separate forms of time. So if we take the whole time together, the point where there was no time, it becomes Mahakala. And standing over her in Vama or Dakshina form, the main form is Viparita Ratatura. Now the definition of Viparita Ratatura, which is often seen as one who is in reverse sexual position, the literal translation taken is defined by the tradition, especially Sachidanandaji, as Rata means being Arakta. So the Viparita Rata over here indicates that which is Viparita of Arakta, that is Virakta or marking the Nigraha, Nivritti Marga. Thus, it also indicates that Rati is the cause of the creation, Viparita Rati is the cause of dissolution. So from Dakshina, which is the path of creation, from creative to external, Vama becomes the path of withdrawal. Vama indicating beautiful as well, not just left hand. So Vamachara or Virachara is the one sadhaka who becomes and starts acting in the path of withdrawal by getting into all of this. So this is all I would do because there is not much time, I think. And that's about it. And short thing that I wanted to say is her idea of Kālī, just beyond Kālī, sir, can I just take 2 minutes more?
Yeah, please.
2 or 3 minutes? Two, okay. This part I was about to miss. So why Tantric culture comes into play? So yesterday you saw Nandita Banerjee's dance. Now, Kālī or the goddess concept becomes more than just a devotional goddess in Bengal. She, during the time of British rule, she becomes the Mata, which we find in taking its roots from Ramayana, Janani Janma Bhumischa Swargadapi Gadiyashi, to Bankim Chandra's Chattopadhyay's Vande Mataram, where the Vande Mataram is a worship to the mother, and she is represented as the Sujalam, Sufalam and the Durga and other forms as well. Later on, we also find in Mukundaram's songs that Bhoyki Morone Rakhite Shantane Janani Meteche Aaj Morono Rangi. So it is a kind of a tone and a song that the mother, who is Matangi, again compared to as the form of Kālī, has started her dance to kill off the British. And what is the fear you have to fight against the British? So let's unite. Then we find in Rabindranath Tagore's song, the very symbolism aji Bangladesher Hriday hote, like where she says that Ba hate tor khorgo jale, dan hate abhay bani. So in one hand you have your khadga, the sword, which is shining, and in your three eyes it's like fire, and in your other hand you have the abhaya. This is the symbol of the mother in Bengal, who is uniting Bengal during the partition period, that we are after all the son of the same mother. Even the songs of Kanoche Achogo Ma Mukhopane, like where they're again referring to this mother of God. Aurobindo sees this motherland as a living force, and often in Dijendralal's poem also, we Bharata Varsha, we see Jagannamohini, Jagat-tarini, Jagat Janani, Bharat Varsha. And different forms is seen. Then in folklore cultures, we also see her being addressed as someone more close, even represented in the political struggles of that time. In Ramprasad's song, we find that China mago Raja hote, jodi dubela, if I can, I do not want to be the king, only if I could get some food to eat. In Nazrul Islam, who is born in an Islamic family, has written enormous compositions explaining the yogic aspects of Kālī Upasana, at time being a revolutionary. Okay, and then we have the Agomoni Shongits, where Uma or Devi becomes a household deity and Shiva becomes the in-law to whom we are addressing. And there are several things like that. I'm not getting into it. I will keep it in my paper. So thank you.
Questions, comments?
the other way around. Kali devotion was something very close to Bengal. It was like in the villages of Bengal. She is seen as a village lady. And the British colonial rule, the popular image is a British lady, the British woman. She is becoming a force which is overpowering that goddess, not the masculine force. It's not a fight of masculine. There was also a similar protest against Christianity which was taken by Jagatbandhu Sundar, but that was a Vaishnava movement.
Rohit. Mike. Mike is here.
Like one of the point is to reject the idea that Kali is not a fight between masculine and feminine. Her standing on male is not a fight of masculinity.
Actually, I have some questions. You just told that Kali stand over Mahakala. Actually, I want to know the difference between she stands on the white Shiva, like Sadashiva, and simultaneously sit on Viparitatura of Mahakala. What is the difference between Mahakala and the Sadashiva?
In this system? No, the which one? Kali stands on Mahakala Sadashiva or the one where
Actually, there is a simultaneous
oh, that one.
two concept.
No, that is not Sadashiva, that is Shabrupi Shiva. Shabrupa Shiva, Hridaya Upari Sanstita.
Sabrup Shiva.
That is not Sadashiva.
I am not telling about Sadaksha Sadashiva. That is another concept. I just concept in Bengali. They also told it is the Sadashiva. If you
it is Shava Shiva.
Shabrupa Sadashiva also. Sabrup.
No, it's not Sadashiva. It is Shabrupi Shiva.
Shabrupi Shiva, corpse. Corpse like. Actually, this is also called Sadashiva by Swami Pragyanananda.
Yes, he calls it Sadashiva.
But I want to know the explanation or as well as the difference between this Sadashiva and that Mahakala.
Can I explain? If there is time, then I will explain in 1 minute.
Actually, do you align with his approach? If these are two different approaches, let us not actually get.
No, this is not discussed in the paper actually. I can explain, but this is not discussed in the paper.
This is not discussed in the paper.
Yeah.
This is not the question inside the paper.
Yes.
Okay? But you want to answer.
I can answer privately.
Privately.
That is better because there is little time.
Or one question, you just told that only a Kaula got the authority to worship Devi.
No, not only a Kaula.
You just told.
No, I was talking about Kaulachara.
Also, there is also authorities of another traditions also. And you just, one thing I remember, that you just told after following Brahmachara and other acharas, one should attain the Kaulachara, Divyachara, okay na? But you just told the subtle explanations of Panchamakara. What is the actual is Madhya, Matsya, Pranavayu. Actually, the concept was taken, was briefly explained in Natha tradition, Goroksha Natha. In Goroksha Satakam, in Goroksha Tantram, etc. But Goroksha tradition, there is not any mention of that this sequence, first Vamachara, Dakshinachara, next Kaulachara.
Can I just reply him in this? See,
they have directly
let me tell you something. There are some questions relevant to the paper and some questions not. What you are talking about is some other tradition and other history. This is basically not relevant to the paper. So I cannot answer questions which are irrelevant. This is the main problem.
Actually,
and this is something
you just told that only after following Brahmachara one can achieve the Kaulachara.
This is of Kalikula tradition, not
okay,
of
this is just belief. Kalikula's belief, okay na?
This is Kalikula tradition paper, not Gorakshanata tradition paper.
Actually,
you have to understand.
But this is the belief of Kalikula. Just I want to know this.
Yes,
okay. Yes,
this is a Kaulachara tradition belief.
Yes, but it is not universally accepted by all, like Nathas.
No system is universally accepted system. In that case, Mimamsa will destroy all Tantra.
And even there is also Mimamsa between these two systems. You should know the Mimamsa, okay na? Yes.
Good. Actually, it is so healthy that these two youngsters are discussing these things with their erudition and learning. And I appreciate Swastik being very careful not to get confused with different traditions and all that. He does not want to jump into the other tradition and answer the questions the way all the straddling from one tradition to the other happens. But you can leisurely sit after this somewhere and get clarifications.
Yes, okay,
If you have a specific observation that the statement made by him actually is not pertaining to the claim in the paper, then only it will be relevant here. Otherwise, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.